Hi everyone, it's Amin here, and today I'm doing a very exciting and requested video. So I recently watched Indian Matchmaking, which is a Netflix series that follows around a matchmaker whose name is Seema Auntie. And she basically tries to match individuals that want to be in an arranged marriage. I actually watched the entire show in one day because it was really entertaining, but it was also very problematic. And as a very opinionated Indian girl, I have a lot to talk about. I have a lot of tea to spill. I want to start off by saying that I was born in Canada, so I was never raised in India at all, but my parents were, and my parents were in an arranged marriage. And I also want to say that my family is a Sikh family, and yes, it's pronounced Sikh, not Sikh. Sikh is our religion, and our language is Punjabi, and our culture is Punjabi, and our state is Punjab. It can be very complicated, but I wanted to address that first, as well as individuals who are Hindu. Hindu is a religion and Hindi is a language. People get that mixed up a lot, and I understand it's very similar words, like one letter off. I had really mixed feelings about this show, but even while I was watching it, I was taking a lot of notes. Like I'm not joking. I have a lot of notes. And some things were good and some things were bad, so I know you all are here to hear about the bad things and how I felt about them and certain characters, and we will definitely be getting into it. I would highly recommend that you get yourself a beverage or a snack or something, because this video is going to be a long one. To start off with, one of the things that I wanted to address as well was my stance on arranged marriages. So like I said, my parents were in an arranged marriage, and basically everyone in their generation that I know of has been in an arranged marriage. Personally, I am not interested in that. Sorry, Seema Auntie, your girl's not available. Also, Seema Auntie, I don't think you would like me. I'm not a very good daughter-in-law. But I also understand the reasoning behind arranged marriages. When I was growing up, I thought that was the weirdest thing because it was difficult for me to really come into terms with my Canadian life, my Canadian culture, and my Indian culture. So growing up, I was like, oh my God, no, I would never do an arranged marriage. But now that I'm older, I do understand the reasoning behind someone having an arranged marriage. And they do work. I've seen it work. I've seen love marriages work. I've seen love marriages not work. I've seen arranged marriages work. I've seen arranged marriages not work. That's just my opinion on it. The number one problematic thing in this show that everyone is talking about is the sexism, the colorism, and the misogyny. And I do want to say that I noticed that in the first 30 seconds. And that was where it took a lot of reflection to finally understand that the show is not promoting sexism. It's an accurate representation of the Indian community and the Indian culture. Our culture is sexist. Every generation has been working towards becoming more and more equal, but for someone on the outside looking in, it doesn't seem that way. I have also been seeing articles and tweets from people who are not Indian or even not South Asian, saying that they are so alarmed by what's going on in this show because women are treated so differently than men. And I agree with that 100%, but I also want to say that you should be mindful of the way that you're saying things, because that can come off as offensive. When I read articles like that, I feel offended. And the reason for that is because I deal with that every single day of my life, and I know what a change my existence has made and how I am fighting that patriarchal system with my existence every day. For someone to say, oh my God, your culture is so sexist, that is offensive. So I know, growing up in this culture, that we are making strides. Like I said, every generation is becoming more and more equal than the last one. So for example, my grandma growing up was not allowed to wear sleeveless tops. My mom was allowed to wear sleeveless tops because her mom said okay. And now I'm allowed to wear spaghetti straps and tube tops because my mom said okay. So as you can see, it takes time for things to become more and more equal, for women to be allowed to do more things, to have more of an opinion, to have more of a life and a personality. And for someone that is not aware of that, it can seem so drastic the way that women are treated versus men. But I want to remind you that the rest of the world does not follow the North American or the Western standards of life. There are problems in the Western community. It's true, there is. So some ways that I'm actively trying to battle the sexism in my community is by not only getting educated, but moving out to get educated. It was such a big deal for me to move out for undergrad and then move out to a different country for grad school. Like, that is not common, and just existing and doing that is me fighting the patriarchy. Me wearing whatever I want to wear, first of all, as a bigger woman, as an average sized girl, me wearing whatever I want to wear, me wearing shorts, me wearing spaghetti straps, that is actively fighting the patriarchy. Me being independent, actively fighting the patriarchy. Picking my own partner, not being in arranged marriage, actively fighting the patriarchy. If I had any advice for someone who was distraught after watching this show and wanted to talk to your South Asian or Indian friends about it, I would start the conversation by asking them about your opinions. It could be something like, hey, I saw Indian Matchmaking and I'm just wondering what your experience was like being a girl. I noticed some discrepancies. What was your experience like? What was your childhood like? What are some things that you're dealing with right now? Rather than starting with, oh my gosh, I watched Indian Matchmaking and Indians are so sexist. That is offensive because you don't know the work that we are putting in to make it less sexist. In the same sense, different families and different cultures are at different points in this whole sexism journey. Being able to wear spaghetti straps might be a really big deal to someone whose family is more strict for whatever girls wear. I think this show displayed a pretty good range of the modernism that you could see in Indian culture, which kind of leads me to the next point. And this was also one of my biggest problems, was the generalizing of all Indians to be the same. So what I mean by that is, like I said, I am from a Sikh family, from a Punjabi family, and a lot of what they were saying about all Indians was not true for me. It did not relate to my family at all. So for example, the face reading, the palm reading, the horoscopes is not something that my community does. So by saying that all Indians do that, or a lot of Indians do that, is inaccurate. And I also understand that I'm a minority religion, a minority culture, minority language in India. So for the most part, it might be true. However, I would caution anyone from believing that all Indians are the same, because we are not. India is a very large country. There are so many different cultures. Every single state basically has their own food, their own culture, their own language, their own clothing, all of that. So please do not take anything this show said as something you can generalize to all Indians, because we are all very different. Another problem I had with this show was that it was so dramatic in the beginning. The first 2 episodes were really shocking, and I know people who are Indian and stopped watching after the first 2 episodes because it was so distressing. And I think they definitely did that to try to get people to keep watching, because it was so different than what we're used to. If you watched the first 2 episodes and you left it because you thought it was so bad, I would recommend that you watch the rest of them, because it actually does get better and it does make sense as to why people were acting a certain way, except for Akshay's mom. Akshay's mom I could not deal with that woman. Everyone else except her gets better throughout the show. So those are all my really bad things about the show, and as you can tell, they're not really that bad, to be honest. It was nice to see some representation of South Asians and Indians specifically in like major media, and this year has been really big for that. For example, Never Have I Ever was also about an Indian girl, and that was really nice to see as well. So although I would say that it's not generalizable to all Indians, of course, that is like every show. Anything you see or read or watch is not going to be generalizable to everyone in that community. Another good thing about the show was that it was really entertaining. Like, honestly, I am a hopeless romantic, and every time somebody would be on a date and they were having the time of their lives, I was like cheesing so hard. And every time they showed one of those old couples being interviewed, I was just like, oh my gosh, that's what I want for the rest of my life. And in general, I just thought the show was very well put together in terms of the videography, the production, the editing. It was very polished, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed seeing everyone's checklists. I enjoyed seeing the interviews, layout. I enjoyed hearing everyone's opinions. So overall, I would say it was entertaining. It just had some issues with it that I addressed. The last thing, I know everyone is waiting for my opinion on specific individuals on the show. I could not stand Akshay's mom because that is the complete opposite of everything I want to be and everything I would want my mother-in-law to be. However, I do know that there are people like her in the world. I have met them, and they're just very traditional in a way that I don't see eye to eye with them. The second person I got asked about was Aparna. I want to say I have mixed feelings about her. So in the beginning, like I said, I think they honestly just tried to make the show really dramatic. So they made her seem so stubborn and spoiled and condescending. And in a way, like, she kind of was. But I also think that I agree with what she was saying towards the end of it. As time went on, I became fond of her. The more they told us about each individual person and their childhood and the way that they are raised, it made a lot of sense to me. I want to say that I know they mentioned in the show that being a single mom and being divorced is not common in the Indian community. And I really, really want to stress that because it is so stigmatizing for a woman to leave her husband. And the fact that her mom raised her and her sister as a single mom really changes things for you, not only on a personal level, but on a community level. It made sense to me why she didn't want to compromise, why she didn't want to settle, and why she just wasn't willing to take that risk and open up to anyone, because of the experiences that her mom had been through and the way that she probably had been shamed for leaving her husband. So at the end of the day, I thought I just thought she was a strong, independent woman, honestly, and she, towards the end of the show, was becoming more open to the idea of meeting new people, and there was a lot of growth in her, and I really, really liked that. And of course, I don't condone any of the sexism towards her because she was very successful. She was earning a lot of money as a lawyer, and she knew what she wanted, and that can be alarming to people who are not used to powerful women. Another person I could really relate to was Ankita because she did not look or act like the way a typical Indian family would expect their daughter or daughter-in-law to look like. And I feel like that kind of speaks to me as well because she was told that she had to lose weight to be married, and she had to be less ambitious and be compromise more, be more emotionally available, all of those things. And I know that if I was in her situation and I was single and looking for someone to marry, I would be told the exact same things. So the fact that she refused to fall into that trap of what other people were saying, that really made me feel empowered. And I hope that if there were any other young Indian girls watching that who were feeling the way that she was feeling, that it really helped them to understand that you can be your own person. You don't have to do what everyone else is telling you to do. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to act a certain way. You don't have to have a certain job. You can really be whatever you want to be. So although the show was sexist, it also highlighted some really important characters and powerful women that young girls could look up to. So that is all I had to say on this show. I know it was maybe not as juicy as you thought it was going to be, but I wanted to be honest with my reflections because I have spent a couple of days thinking about this show and what it means to anyone watching it. So for me, as someone who is actually Indian, I definitely had some problems with it, but I also appreciated it in a way because it brings to light how embarrassing our culture can really be in the way that we treat and talk about women. And for anyone who is not Indian and watch this show, it might be surprising to you that that is how things are. And if you want to have conversations with your friends who are also Indian, I would do so in a constructive way so that you're not bashing them or you're not bashing their culture, because it is something that we are actively trying to work on every single day. It's exhausting, but it is what it is. And at the end of the day, I still love my culture. I love my community. It's just that we have to work towards becoming better, which honestly, I think every culture, every community can work on that as well. There is none that are literally perfect. So that is all I had to say. Let me know down below what your opinions are of the show and the characters, and if you disagree with me or agree with me, let me know too. If you have any other series that you want me to watch, I will happily do that. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was entertaining, and I'll see you next time.